Less fun, especially if you're living in Phoenix, is what happened with the Suns this season. Everybody was expecting that their big three would at least make them relevant and challengers in the Western Conference. That turned out not to be the case. Can't get out of the first round. Bill mentioned how good Booker and Durant were last night. They combined for 82 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, 82% true shooting percentage.
Oh.
None of it mattered because Bradley Beal was absolutely brutal in that game. He was brutal in the series. He was horrible as a lead defender on Anthony Edwards, although who's going to defend Anthony Edwards? As we just mentioned, he's been amazing. But they are locked into this team unless they trade one of the two big guys, Beal or Kevin Durant. And I don't think they want to do that, but that's really the kind of their only option here. Or they can run it back, which is also a bad option.
They don't control their draft picks from 25 to 30. I mean, go ahead. It's just, what a mess.
Yeah, I think also you talk about trading, but after what we just saw, I mean, Kevin Durant, I feel like will always have a trade market because it's Kevin Durant. I feel like what he's done in the league kind of speaks for itself. So I feel like his trade market's always there. But at this point, when you saw what Bradley Beal just did, why would you want him? More importantly, why would you want that salary? I mean, $161 million are owed to him, 50, 54, 57 million.
Plus a no trade clause. Can't move him unless he wants to get moved.
He has a no trade clause, so he can determine whether or not he wants to get moved. That's a lot of cash to owe somebody who, I mean, what did he do? You know what I mean? Like
3 more years.
Yeah.
He was.
And on the way he found out, he slapped. You guys, I'm sure you saw. He slapped
Noble's hand away
and undermined. And I know there's a report from Shams that, and this obviously at Shams it's true, but there is clearly some issues with Vogel and his possible survival, but just undermining your coach publicly, and you just found out and you played like garbage. He is a mess.
Fouled out.
Not only that, Bill, but there was a report from The Athletic that Vogel gave this like passionate speech in the locker room when he was very upset. We're better than this, like very much like bearing his soul, if you will. And people said that it came across very forced, very performative, and one player had to prevent himself from laughing at him. That's not good. Like, you just got swept.
No,
it's not good. And Beal was really bad as a lead defender on Anthony Edwards. And again, it's Anthony Edwards, and he really like leveled up in this series. But as the lead defender, Anthony Edwards went for 17 for 31 against Bradley Beal in the series. And Bradley Beal actually just rattled off how much money he's owed. 50, 54, and 57 million coming up. Can't be moved unless he wants to be moved. You're probably not moving Booker because he's the face of the franchise. That really only leaves you KD to move, but you traded everything to get him in the first place. So it's like rocking a hard place here. I want to run this.
He's complaining though. KD was complaining about his role in the offense. So
yeah, I know. All of a sudden now you might think like, because you could move KD and potentially get something back from him, but I want to run this past you guys. He's going to be 36 next year to start the season.
Yeah.
They can sign him this offseason to an extension for his age 38 season at $60 million. Are you extending him?
Yes.
I don't think you have a choice. And also like, listen,
for 38,
I'm not going to say that KD cares immensely what the public thinks, but I think he cares to a degree. And
nobody cares more. Oh, Ash.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, he teeters back and forth, right? I think sometimes he doesn't care, and I think there's a part of him though that does care. And I think that after the Warriors saga, when he left Golden State, went to Brooklyn, and it was supposed to be he was going to win it on his own because he had James Harden and Kyrie, and it was going to be a big FU to the Golden State Warriors and everyone who doubted him and said that he was only, a champion because the Golden State Warriors helped him get there. This was supposed to be, what changed that narrative. And obviously it didn't work. And then you go to Phoenix and you're expecting similar results, a big FU. I don't need Brooklyn. I can go ahead and win them. And you haven't done that. And now you just got swept. I would be very, very surprised if Kevin Durant once again jumped ship and went someone else. I cannot see him doing that. It would be a travesty for his legacy to jump ship once again to a different team. And I think
what's the difference?
Just enough that he won't do that.
Well,
what's the difference? He already left a bunch.
I think he could leave, but to Ash's point, if he doesn't, and to your point, John, if he wants to stay, I think he had a great season, played a bunch of games. I mean, the guy was awesome. If you're going to roll with Durant and Booker and a wash Beal, you have to probably move on from Frank Vogel, fair or not, because the fact that, and I talked about this in the radio show, the fact that report came out the moment the game was over. That is not Shams being super connected with the water boy or one of Vogel's staff or even somebody in the front office and the details of it. That is somebody on that team. And again, I think Shams is amazing. It's not criticism, but he has cornered the market on relationships at that level with superstars, whereas Woj is more of an agent guy. I know Shams does agents too. That's coming from one of those guys. I mean, I'm speculating, but that is coming from one of those guys. It shows that Vogel has probably lost all three of them. And I think you saw that Booker's comments, Durant's comments over the course of the series and last night, and Bradley Beal sort of aggressively swatting the hand away. Vogel doesn't have a team outside of those three guys, maybe Grayson Allen. He's lost the only three guys that actually can play at a level that matters. So that Shams report is really noteworthy, Ash, because that is undermining him and punching him where the sun don't shine the moment that thing ended. Who knows if Ishbia wants cover, because this is cover, and I know that the folks that are close to Ishbia went from being as arrogant as that owner to now as worried that eventually they're going to get blamed. And a guy like Vogel does provide you someone else to look at and blame if things go wrong. But he was
asked about it. He was asked about it the other day and said that he feels fully confident in that Matt Ishbia will bring him back, which is like the kiss of death. But beyond that, like, this isn't on Frank Vogel. I mean, they might hang it on Frank Vogel. They might make him the scapegoat because 100%. They need a scapegoat because you can't get rid of you can't get rid of at least one of those guys and probably two of those guys, which only leaves you KD. So you might be running it back anyway. But this is a failure of roster. No, I don't think so. Look, I look at their team. They finished 13th in defense. That team has no business being anywhere near the top 10 in defense. Offensively, they don't. Bill just mentioned that they have three guys and Nurk and Grayson Allen, and they bring Eric Gordon off the bench, and that's it. They're like hyper thin. It is not a good roster construction. They traded Ishbia came in.
It's Ishbia's fault.
If you were giving out blame percentages, right? How much of a percentage would you give to Vogel, and how much would you be giving out to everybody else?
Ishbia 98%, and then you can divide the 2% however you want after that. Okay. I think. Oh, well, you know what,
Ishbia, a lot of it, and then beyond that, Beal a considerable amount.
Okay.
Although they asked him to do something that, he hasn't really. He's going to be the third guy. He's not. He's lost stuff. They don't play basketball well. They didn't really have a traditional point guard. The roster is. I lay it all on the front office.
Okay, so quick follow up then. If that's how you feel towards the Suns, then when you look at the Lakers, for example, do you not put any blame on Darvin Ham, or does he get more blame than you give Frank Vogel?
That's much more nuanced and complicated. I think that's complicated. I think
that's
not
a winning roster either.
No, well, they made a conference finals last year. I mean, they're not as you're right, but they're not as hampered as the Suns. I mean, the Suns have no reset for what feels like 6 years. I mean, it's not going to be that long necessarily, but they don't have draft picks. They're in the second apron. By the way, those three guys next year are going to make what, $150 million. The tax threshold is 141, I think, is the new, and the new CBA is designed to continue to squeeze the margins and the distances between big markets and small markets. So they're in the second apron, which, not to get too into the weeds, but their ability to make trades, it's so restrictive.
Super restrictive on how you can build. You're basically looking at the same team with minimum contract guys coming in to surround them. So yeah, it's a little bit different than the Lakers because the Lakers have more levers that they can pull. But same deal, Ash. I look at Darvin Ham and I go, there's a lot of other reasons why they lost beyond Darvin Ham.
But he's a bad coach, I think, potentially, whereas Frank Vogel is not. I do think that's. I'm not sure.
Frank Vogel making this team like a serviceable defensive team is like,
and Frank
that team, I don't know how.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Frank Vogel in all his years of coaching has ever been swept.
So neither had Bradley Beal, and now he has too.
I don't think Frank Vogel has ever been swept as a head coach. Like, he's never been coaching a team that's been swept. I'm pretty sure.
Did you see the meme on Twitter? Like it's Pelinka calling Vogel like, "Hey, you still up, man? I miss you." I mean, it's
tough times in the Valley of the Sun.